Hey friends, how you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Samachet, Daf 65, Masechta Nedarim. Friends, today we talk about Nedarim. Alright, let's get started. We're on Daf Samachet, Muralf, all the way to the top. Tana, Amudar Anoya Mechaveu. A fellow who makes a neder against his friend, in Matirin Lo, Ela B'fanov, we only can be matir in front of him. Okay, Minani Mili, how do we know this? Some of Nachman, the Pasuk says, Vayomar Hashem el Moshe b'Midjan, that the Eibishter says to Moshe in Midjan, Lech shuv Mitzrayim, go back to Egypt, K'mesu kol anoshim, that the people who wanted to kill you are dead. Omar lo, b'Midjan adarta l'cha, v'atei nidjecha b'Midjan, and the Eibishter says to Moshe, look, you made a neder in Midjan, so do Ataris Nedarim. In Midjan, the Pasuk says, Vayoel Moshe, that it says Vayoel Moshe, right, when he agrees to go with to Yisro. Ein Allah ela shvua, and Allah is a shvua. The pasuk says vayavei also be'Allah, that he made him do a shvua. So we see that Moshe Rabbeinu made a shvua or a neder in Midjan, so therefore he had to do Ataris Nedarim there where he did it. V'gam b'melech Nebuchadnezzar morad. Chizkiyahu made a Tzidkiyahu. What did I say? Tzidkiyahu made a neder against a neder to Nebuchadnezzar, and he rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar. He broke the neder. Whatever, we'll see the story. Asher ishbio belokim, that Nebuchadnezzar made him make a shvuah. My do say, what is this rebellion that it says that Tzidkiyahu rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar? Ashkechet Tzidkiyahu Nebuchadnezzar. Well, Tzidkiyahu found something interesting. Nebuchadnezzar was eating a live rabbit. Interesting. And so Nebuchadnezzar says to Tzidkiyahu, make a shvur, right? Swear to me that you won't tell anybody, because Nebuchadnezzar was shtickle embarrassed that he got busted eating a live rabbit. Ishtaba. Okay, so Tzidkiyahu swore to him. Now Tzidkiyahu felt kind of bad. He had like such juicy evidence against Nebuchadnezzar, and here he's suppressing it. So he did Ataris Nedarim, Tzidkiyahu. And he told people what he saw, that Nebuchadnezzar was eating a live rabbit. Now Nebuchadnezzar heard that they were sort of disgracing him. So he came and brought. He congregated. He brought together. He got the Sanhedrin together with Tzidkiyahu and Tzidkiyahu as well. Omar leon chazisun mai ka of Tzidkiyahu, and he says to the people, did you hear what Tzidkiyahu did? Lav hochi ishtaba b'shma d'shmayt lo megalino. He made a swear to God that he wasn't going to tell anybody that I ate a live rabbit. They said to him, yeah, but he did Ataris Nedarim. You can just do that. You could just make a Hatorah like that. They said to him, they can't. Yeah, you can. He said to them, well, would I have had to been there or not? Yeah, you would have had to be there. If you made the shvuah to you, then you would have to be there when he undoes it. He says to them, so then why did you allow him to undo the shvuah if I wasn't there? My time why didn't you say anything to Tzidkiyahu that he can't do that? Then immediately the elders of Zion sat on the ground. They took out the cushions from underneath them, that they realized that they did not act properly. Very, very interesting. So we see that if you make a neder against the fellow in front of him, you can only undo it in that fellow's presence. Says the Mishnah of Meir, says there are things that are like nolad, are like new developments, but also not like new developments. And the Chacham admit to Rav Meir. Kate said, what are we talking about? Omar konam shani no says ploni shavia ra. If he says, there's no way, no how, I'm going to marry such a woman, her father is evil. Amrlo, they said to him, Mace, they said, oh yeah, but he died. Or shasa tshuve, or he did tshuve. Konam levai zeh shani nichnas shakelev rabbasocho. Or if he says, I ain't going into that house, there's an evil dog in that house. Or shanochash besocho, or there's a snake in there. They said, yeah, but the dog died, or the snake got killed. So that's an example of something that's like quasi-nolad. Because the thing is, in that case, he kind of made it dependent on something, right? Meaning, he didn't have anything against this woman marrying her, right? He said he's not going to marry her as long as the father is evil, basically. If he's no longer evil, well, then the condition kind of is no longer relevant, and now he can get married, right? If he says, I'm not going to go into that house, and he said, why? I'm not going to go into that house because there's an evil dog, or because there's a snake. Well, if the snake then goes away, then immediately the condition is gone, right? That's different than, for example, if he says that he's not going to go into this house, and then sure enough, it ends up becoming a synagogue. He didn't make any condition. He said he's never going to go into that house. Something new happened. It became a synagogue. That's nolad. This isn't nolad. This is more like a condition. He said he's not going to marry this woman only essentially under the condition that her father's a nudnik. If he no longer is a nudnik, so then then the condition is sort of no longer met, and that would be acceptable. Konam she'ani, says the Gemara, v'chulei meis nolad hu. Amar Ravuna naise ketola nidro b'davar. So says Ravuna that, like I just said, that it's basically like he's making a tanai, right? He's making his statement dependent on something, and if that changes, then it becomes permitted. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, whereas Rabbi Yochanan argues on Ravuna and says no, kvar meisu kvar ose tshuve ka'amrle. No, so Rabbi Yochanan says that it's talking about that he finds out that it was already dead, right? So meaning, if he says I'm not going to marry this woman because her father's a real nudnik, and then they say to him, oh, by the way, the father is dead, or he did tshuva, he's actually not a nudnik. He had already died at the time, or he had, so therefore there was nothing new. He just wasn't aware, so it was actually a mistake. If he says I'm not going to marry this woman, she's very unattractive. But the fact of the matter is she's actually very attractive. She's very dark, but the fact of the matter is she's actually very light. She's very short, but it happens to be she's actually very tall. Mutter ba. So in this case, he's allowed to marry her. It's not because she was unattractive and she became attractive. Or she was dark and she became light. Or she was very short and she became very tall. There was a flat out mistake. So I understand according to Rafuna, so I understand according to Rafuna, who says that our Mishnah is talking about where he basically makes a condition, right? He says, I'm not going to marry this woman because her father's a nudnik. So if the father does tshuva and he's no longer a nudnik, so then he can marry her, right? So Tanatola Nidro Bedavar, Betanat Neder Tos. So therefore, our Mishnah is talking about when he basically has a Tanai. And then we have this Braise, which is talking about when he made a mistake, right? He thought that she was short, it turns out that she's tall, right? It was a mistake. So one's talking about basically making a Tanai, and the other one is talking about making a mistake. Right? But according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that it's talking about where he made a mistake, right? He said he's not going to marry this woman because her father's a real nudnik, and they say, look, her father is actually dead, so it's an actual mistake. So why do I need the Mishnah to be talking about a mistake and the Brisa to be talking about a mistake? Kasha. So it's takagut to kasha. We don't have a teretz. Says the Mishnah, Vod Omer Reb Meir, and Reb Meir Oichet said, Poschen lo min akosu shebatere, that we can make a Pesach out of invoking verses from the Holy Torah. Ve'omer lo, and we say to the fellow, Ilu ayisan yodea sha'ata over al losikim ve'al lositor. If you would have known that when you make a neder against the fellow, you're going to be in violation of the pasuk of don't take revenge and don't hold a grudge. Ve'alosisnas achicha b'vavecha, and do not hate your brother in your heart. Ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha, love your fellow as yourself. Ve'che'achicha yimach, and that your brother should live with you. That if he becomes poor, you won't be able to be mafanis, and you won't be able to give him parnose. And if he says, wow, if I would have known that I'd be in violation of these verses from our holy Torah, I would never have made the neder. That is a valid Pesach. But says Ravuna bar Katina to Rabba, I don't understand. when we say that if he becomes poor, you won't be able to help him out, let him say, look, not everybody who's poor is my responsibility. Look, I give money to the public charities, and they're meant to take care of all these people, right? It's meaning, so therefore, it's not like if I make a neder against this fellow, I won't be able to support him. It's not like it's my responsibility to support every poor person. I give money, I contribute it to the gabbai, and the gabbai then collects it and disseminates it to whoever. So he would still be able to receive money from me in that way, along with the public funds. Yeah, but the thing is that when somebody needs money, he doesn't first go to sort of the public charity and say, look, I'm in need of money. He goes to people he knows and he asks for some help first, and in that case, this fellow won't be able to help out because he made a neder. Says the Mishnah, you can use your wife's ksube as a pesach. There was a maise with a fellow that he made a neder hanoya from his wife. Tough dinarim, and her ksubah was 400 dinars. And she came before Rabbi Akiva, v'chayvo litein la ksubaso. And Rabbi Akiva says to the fellow, you must pay your wife's ksubah 400 dinars. Omar lo Rebbe, and the fellow says to Rabbi Akiva, he says, Rebbe, chesmeos dinarin iniach abba. My father left me 800 dinars. Left 800 dinars. Notal achi dalameos v'ani dalameos. My brother chapterai 400, and I got the other 400. Lodai shetito li mosayim v'ani mosayim. And he says to Rabbi Akiva, look, the 400 dinarim of the ksuba is basically all that I inherited from my father. Wouldn't it be enough if I just give her half of that? If I give her 200 and I can keep the other 200? Amalei Rabbi Akiva says to the fellow, Afilu ata mocher saroshcha ata nosein lo ksubasa. Even if it means that you have to sell the hair from your head. Okay. You're going to have to pay for a ksubah. Okay. I mean, it's not muvan me'elav that a Jewish man has hair on his head, but I guess in that case he did. And he says, wow, if I would have known that I'd even have to sell the hair from my head, then that I wouldn't have made the neder v'etir Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva said, okay, wow, okay. Well, meaning the fellow says, wow, if I would have known that I'd have to sell everything I have, and I would be left with nothing in order to pay for the ksuba, I would surely never have made that neder. And Rabbi Akiva says, well, if that's the case, that is a proper pesach, and this neder is undone. But are metaltalin meshuba to the ksube? So Abai says no. It's talking about property that he had, right? Property that was worth 800 dinars, not metaltalin. Vakatoni sairosho, but it talks about his hair. Sairosho metaltalin, and the hairs of his head are metaltalin. No, even if it means that you're going to have to sell your hair in order to pay for your food, you're going to have to give those 400 dinars of karka, of real estate, for your wife's ksuba. So it sounds like we don't leave anything to a balchov, right? Meaning this fellow, all he had to his name was 400 dinars. And we said, you got to give it all for the ksuba. We don't leave him garnished. So Amr of Nachman says, no, it could be that we leave him garnished, that we do leave him epis. Lomar she'ein mikarin shtar ksuba, but it does mean that if somehow he came across other money, so then he'd have to give that to her. So we do leave him epis to live on, but if he gets money from other places, he would have to use that money to pay off the remainder of the ksuba. Friends, that was Daf Samachei of Masechet Nedarim. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.